in the hope of improving his odds. He soon found his new ride after successfully pulling over an aerospace engineer named Bill Maher, who was on his way back to work and ironically had been diverted down his current path by the police blockade. Getting frustrated by the time he was taking to get out of the car, Matt shot at Bill Maher, wounding the poor man, who then fled the scene on foot. He retrieved an XM15 from the boot of the now immobile Chevrolet and tried to make his escape in Bill's Jeep Cherokee. Two problems with that. Number one, the truck was fitted with a kill switch, which Bill immediately flipped when he realized he was being carjacked. Number two, the truck was a manual, and Matt didn't know how to drive a manual.
Oh, what a loser!
Whoops-a-daisy. Also, Bill, he's got a kill switch, huh? Okay, people have these? During the commotion of this failed carjacking, a SWAT team had finally managed to close the gap with Matt and was bearing down on his position. At last, come on SWAT, let's go! They immediately opened up on Matt upon disembarking, pinning Matt down with suppressive fire and leaving him nowhere to run. Eventually, one Officer Anderson, who had been closing the gap with Matt, had a clear line of sight. He double-tapped 2 rounds into the gunman's center mass. Matt staggered and slammed into the bonnet of his car before sliding down it and collapsing. So had Anderson finally downed Matt? He had not. Owing to a thick steel trauma plate Matt had jury-rigged onto his ballistic vest, this normally fatal shot, which would have made short work of the armor, was no more damaging than a very, very hard punch to the chest. Matt returned fire, some shots calculated and targeted, others being wild, uncontrolled volleys that further tore his own car apart as they missed woefully. At this point, the SWAT team, upon noticing Matt was all but unarmored on his legs, made the shrewd decision to target his lower body. And there's a note here, it's a long note. It may sound stupid to us viewers that it took the police this long to realize this, but if I may offer some insight, in combat, you are a creature of impulse and muscle memory. As a combatant, you are drilled and drilled and drilled on procedure to the point that your body's muscle memory naturally goes to execute it, even if completely overcome with stress and anxiety. Likely the responding officers up to this point were simply aiming for the center mass as drilled into them during training. This was in very stressful circumstances, and it's only when the initial burst of adrenaline and flight or fight instinct subsided that they were actually able to notice. To us as onlookers, it's blindly obvious. Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. Because I was reading about how they changed things after, I think it was the Second World War with the military, how people were really good at shooting targets, but when they got into war, they were terrible at shooting people because they didn't want to shoot people. And they started basically training the military to have this muscle memory. You don't think, you just pull the trigger. So they started shooting at targets shaped like people and all of this stuff. And they worked on the psychology of it. And then it went from 10% to 90% people willing to shoot other people, which was crazy. And it's sort of like this muscle memory. You just